Good afternoon and welcome to Women of Color TV. And I am Marsha Jews, and we are here at the Women of Color STEM Conference in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm sitting here with Shavane. Subhashini. I'm so sorry.
No.
Subhashini.
Yeah,
all right.
Perfect.
Tell us about your career and how you came to attend the Women of Color Conference.
Awesome. So I am Subhashini Vashisth. I am a chemical engineer by training, and I work for a fantastic company, Eastman Chemical Company, based in Tennessee. So we have a global employee base across multiple continents. And so I come from Tennessee to attend the Women of Color STEM conference. So as I said, I am a chemical engineer. I did my PhD in chemical engineering from back home in India. And then I did postdoc and worked as a faculty with the University of British Columbia before joining Eastman in our Scale Up and Process Innovation Division. And so one thing that Eastman is known for is the innovation that we do, bringing products to our customers and looking at what are the unmet needs of the market and how can we improve and enhance our customers and people's life in a material way, which means providing them with products which have enhancing properties, maybe sustainable, maybe biodegradable, in a way that we can enhance their quality of life. And so I am in the technology organization, and me and my team is involved in a lot of innovation of these products. So if you have a cell phone, our material goes into the screen of that cell phone, iPhone. We are also working on the material that's going to go into the iMac screen. So anything that has like the displays, electronic displays, our material goes into that. If you talk about the high-end fabric, our sustainable fabric fibers goes into those clothing. And you talk about high-end vehicles, our coating and inks goes into those vehicles. The windshield, our material goes into that windshield. And so I'm really proud to mention about all these products because I get to work on these products from the lab scale to the commercial scale and bringing that product to the hand of the customers.
Girl, ain't nothing this place is doing. I have never. This is amazing. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Now, are all of these products broken down into different divisions?
Yes.
Okay. And so what would those divisions be called?
Sure. And so as I mentioned, Eastman Chemical Company is a global company. So we have a technology organization that works a lot on the innovation and bringing the products. We have marketing and sales and business people who are actually connecting more with the customers in terms of understanding what is the unmet need in the market, what product should we be looking for. And so we jointly work together under 4 different business segments.
Okay.
So we work for the care chemicals, where you talk about the cosmetics or any.
Well, hold on there. Stop there because you're going too fast.
Yes.
When you start talking about cosmetic, what does that include? What layers? Is this the powder that I'm putting on, or is there some like when you put on something preventive for your skin and the sun, or?
Yes. So basically, it's the nail paints, the foundation. So we make micro beads to get that feel, how you apply the makeup on face, or it's about the feel and the perception that you get. You do not want patches, right? So we are working on those material. But what is the important thing about what we are working on is bringing the biodegradable things. Like we put a lot of shampoo and conditioners, the hair fixators that goes down the drain when we wash it. And when it goes to the drain, it goes to the river.
Yes.
And where do we drink water from?
From the water.
From the river.
Yes.
Right. So those microplastics we are consuming the microplastics that we are sending into the water waves. So we are working on the microbeads, which are going to be biodegradable
Right.
in fresh water. So their biodegradability is also two types. One is you have to send it to an industrial composting to, to be biodegradable. But then the one that goes into the fresh water,
Mhm.
that does not. So we want to use cosmetics that's actually going to go in fresh water, and after, let's say, 30 days or so, it's going to be gone.
Okay, so let me stop here.
Mhm.
So when we talk about going into fresh water, but we also have salt water. And
Mhm.
so how do you determine, or how can you separate what those microbeads are doing in the doggone salt water
Sure.
versus the fresh water?
Yeah.
And how does that go into the development of our cosmetics
Sure.
or the impact?
Yes. So what fresh water is one thing, but then as I mentioned about the industrial. Okay.
Okay, we're back. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So fresh water is one thing. The other is landfill, and
Mm,
and then the other is but what you're talking about, like the salt water, which is going into the ocean.
yes.
So those takes much longer time, but what we are mainly concerned about is the riverways, because that's where the more the water for the drinking system that circulates in the drinking
The
system.
waves help that.
The fresh water is what is circulated for the drinking. The one that goes into the salt water, which is your ocean, is a
Right.
different one. So we are trying to tackle the fresh water right now because that's extremely important for the health of individuals,
Mhm.
because that goes into our water, the drinking water system.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, in looking at all of this, I mean, I think it's really fascinating.
Sure.
When you were a little girl, how did you start thinking about water and all of the elements that were going into the water and the impact that it was having on humans?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I always loved the science, but one of my favorite subject was art and craft. So, as growing up, I had that engineering bent of mine, but I had the art or the creativity part of it as well. So, I would also always look at things in a very creative aspect and how we can solve a solution which is enjoyable, which I can tangibly see. So that always fascinated me. And so looking at that, I always was interested in solving problems with a creative mindset, and with even like making maths more creative, making chemistry more creative. And so I did a project on the microbial action and the GMOs. The GMO growing up was a big thing at that point, because the crop protection or the chemicals that go into the systems was like, how can we feed the big population of the world that was growing at that point, and the GMO was a big thing.
Right.
So I made a project on talking about how GMO can help bring a more sustainable growth of the crop protection. And those kinds of projects always energized me in terms of finding a solution to a problem which was real life, whether it was around the house or around in the community. So that always sparked
So you
interest
just
in
have
me.
this curiosity.
Yes.
You know, I just say, I was nosy as a little girl. I just wanted, what is that? And I always asking the questions,
Sure.
right? But you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
do anything if you can't get an answer for it,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So now here you are moving through an executive level in your corporation.
Mhm.
What's the rest of that long-term goal for you?
Sure. And so, one thing, as we are attending the Women of Color STEM conference,
Yes.
I am a big advocate for women in engineering. And so, as I said, I'm a chemical engineer, there, which is a core field dominated by male.
Yes.
And then when I came into the industry, in the technology as well, we do not have gender parity. So I'm a big advocate of the women who are in the engineering and the science field. Also, I have two daughters, and so I have to set an example for them to look forward, as I look at our women leaders in the organization and at Eastman, And in university, I draw a lot of energy from the role models I see. So I also want to create a pathway for the younger generation so they can see role models. So that is what is my hope for future, is to be an advocate for all the women who want to be in the STEM field and in the community.
And this is why we created the Women of Color.
Mhm.
And it was at the Black Engineer of the Year Awards conference
Sure.
where we were seeing all these men, but we didn't see any women of color up on that stage. We saw
Yeah.
a few, but it was nominal,
Mhm.
right? And so several of us sat around
Yeah.
and said, wait, okay, enough.
Yeah.
We need to do something about it.
Absolutely.
28 years ago, we did this.
Yeah.
And so it's right to what you're saying. We
Yeah.
need to see more of us
Sure.
who look like us
Mhm.
for our younger generations to come through and do what they need to do.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yes.
So when you're not messing with micro things, what do you do in your spare time?
Oh, I do a lot of the community volunteering activities. So I come from Kingsport, Tennessee. So with the chamber and in Eastman, I'm absolutely excited to share about our Eastman resource groups. That's the ERGs. And so we have 6 ERGs. One is the Catalyst, that's the Women and Allies ERG. Connect, that's the African American and Allies ERG. We have Equality, that's our LGBTQ plus allies.
Wow.
We have Apex, Asia Pacific Islander and allies. We have EVETS, that's the Veterans and Allies. And we have Mosaic, that's the Latin American and allies. And so I volunteer a lot for the great initiatives, these ERGs, to for people in Eastman and outside in the community as well. And just as an example, yesterday I had the privilege and opportunity to go with our Catalyst ERG to one of the elementary school to talk about the International Day of Girl Child, which was October 11th.
Okay.
And so I absolutely was fascinated with the energy these kids bring in when they talked about as simple as what does diversity means, what does inclusion means, and they had such fascinating questions to learn about the subject. And we started with asking these questions, but leading into more information and examples of. We had a panel where we had an engineer, a chemist, a woman from IT organization, a woman from HR, to showcase what is possible.
The broad
And
spectrum.
and another message was, hey, we are celebrating International Day of Girl Child, but it's for all. Because if we want to be successful, we have to be there for each other. And that's why the role of the allies come, right? And so it's like, we are celebrating this, but it's for everybody. And that was a great,
And it's huge
yes.
because people don't know what they don't know, particularly
Sure.
young people and parents.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a clue of where to begin,
Yeah.
if you can't see yourself there,
Sure.
then we have to begin all over because we're losing a lot of our talent that don't even realize what
Absolutely.
they're missing.
Yeah, yeah. So I spend a lot of time in these activities, and I take my daughters along for them to participate in volunteering and just to learn from others.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what are your two takeaways from your experience thus far? Because you still have a couple more days that
Yeah.
you have to do.
Yes.
But what have you seen thus far?
In the conference, I just came out from a session from the changing faces of fintech, where the speaker, Christine, was encouraging women to be more attentive about the finance. I think that is one of the gap areas that women do not pay attention to, including myself. And to be aware about earning is important, but then investing and make that flow of money circular is extremely important. So learning more about how the stocks work, what are the investments that you can do so that you have like a recurring flow of money. So I thought the session was fascinating, And I'm looking forward to the welcome reception and the award ceremony. And there are some really great sessions that I plan to attend, from how do you prepare yourself for an interview, and the strategies for innovation
Right.
for the women, and what is the role of women in innovation. So I'm looking forward to attending those sessions.
So you're setting your sights on what's the next thing for you as you look at that whole journey to the C-level suite. What does that journey look like for you?
So I do recognize there are a lot of barriers in the system, and very few role models. But I think the work that we are doing at Eastman on an inclusion and diversity perspective is really great. And I think we have a buy-in from our executive team members and sponsors. And the fact that we are here speaks about the commitment of the company in terms of, yes, we recognize there is a gap, we recognize there is a concern, and we are going to all work together to fix this problem, find innovative solutions. So just as an example, we are working on a project called as Women in Innovation, which is basically looking at the IP landscape.
Okay.
And we talk about gender parity and disparity. There is a big gender disparity in terms of the intellectual property. And so we are doing a root cause analysis, trying to understand why women are working in these fields.
Right.
They are inventing, why we do not have a lot of the women inventors. And so we are doing that root cause analysis, and we'll develop a program.
And we have to do that research to get there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all the work. And so now you're part of the Women of Color family.
I'm absolutely fascinated and honored to be attending the
And
conference.
we're honored to have you here. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you.
So enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.